Now, the next part is, when we look at Jesus Youth, what are the shifts that Jesus Youth has brought in evangelization? Something that is fresh. One is, I think, a movement from preachers to peers. Is very crucial. Until the beginning of the century, preachers and evangelists were elders who were much senior, both in age as well as in knowledge, in terms of spirituality. And this also happened because of the colonial aspects. Most of the countries received Christianity also from colonial past. So they also came with an intent to civilize the uncivilized people. So there was this patronizing aspect that was packaged along with Christianity a bit. So in a sense, this patronizing aspect was there. But I think with this spontaneity of the charismatic renewal, with the youth movements like Jesus Youth, a whole shift that happened was, when we looked at this, was from the preachers we have moved down to youth. This resulting peer-oriented lifestyle of young people called for an entire new style of evangelization. Almost all the initial evangelization efforts within the Jesus Youth happened in this mode, giving the message a greater authenticity and relevance among the people. Secondly, we moved from the pulpit to the playgrounds. Actually, there was a change. The game was changed. You know, suddenly there was a natural ambience within which the gospel was preached, within which messages were spoken. But suddenly you had environments like workplaces, airplanes, trains, buses, public parks. All this became an ambience for the gospel. Small sharing groups, one-to-one personal testimonies, panel sessions. Actually, this change impacted the entire formats of the presentation of evangelization, this shift. So that was, I think, the key shift. And it is not, this shift is not in the past. The shift is happening, and I feel we have to strongly stick to this and build on these four things which are our strength in youth evangelization. Thirdly, from an elaboration, we moved into diverse expressions. With youth being evangelizers, the entire dynamics of evangelization began to undergo change according to the times. From elaborate content-packed documents and speeches, evangelization took on a whole range of diverse artistic expressions in sync with the attitude and lifestyles of young people. Within the Jesus Youth and among other such movements, the good news began to be expressed in styles that were youthful. In a Christian context, we call them ministries, and then we went into a lot of other stuff, and that was explained here, from exhibitions to, so that is in the paper. I'm not going into it, but I think this diverse expressions, from elaboration to diverse expression, and that will continue. And I think we should put more effort to continue that, to figure out more expressions. What expression is better today? And yesterday to today. That is, I felt as we read through, one of the key things of Jesus Youth. Because when Jesus Youth started, most of us were students or just beginning to work. So we were in touch with what was hip and happening in the colleges among young people. There was a kind of todayness in the Jesus Youth. And somehow, even though we went across, we carried this todayness, this contemporariness with us. And that is very crucial, because somehow if Jesus is the same yesterday, today and tomorrow. But if we do not reflect that contemporariness of Jesus, people might mistake Jesus' message as something that is meant for the 18th century. So this todayness is very important. So these are the four things that I felt are very precious to our movement, and something that we will continue to build in the coming years. So that is that for evangelization. I'm slowly moving into media. Yeah, I've got the orange light. Media, one crucial thing is, when in the media, packaging is very crucial. Like anything can be packaged interestingly. And youth are finding it very difficult to see. These are toilets, they look so beautiful. No? Yeah. If you package and shelf it well, anything will look beautiful. And for the young people to discern behind the packaging what is important is very difficult. And that is where I think Jesus Youth is role coming in. And an American broadcaster once asked an evangelizer, "Do you really express expect us to do your job, or are you blaming us when you don't? So perhaps the only reason why the media is giving wrong messages is that we are not in the media yet. So we are out of the media. But if we look at what we have been doing, where do we stand? There's a long way to go. And we are nowhere in a sense. Because even if you look at things like the Rex Band or many things, we still are caught up in that Catholic charismatic circle. We still are caught up maybe in the Christian circle at the most. We are not mainstream. And the call is to influence culture. And to influence culture, we have to influence media. So the question is, who will influence the influencers today? And the Pope says the communications media are the admission ticket of every man and woman to the modern place where thoughts are given public utterance. And through this admission ticket, we should enter and be present there. A few of us are already there in media, but we must encourage more people to be present there. In politics, in sports, in media. We know Eddie Shelton has been in politics, but I can't think of any other person who is present in that space. And the Pope says the church will feel herself guilty before God if she did not avail herself of those powerful instruments which human skill is constantly developing and perfecting. So if you ask what is the next level, the conclusion is, as a movement, we have to move from a niche and influence mainstream culture. And that is what the elaboration in the paper is all about. May God help us to do that. God bless you.